You think they're geniuses, born disciplined, wired differently, somehow able to master anything they touch. Swords, surgery, semiconductors, sushi that takes a decade to get right. You're wrong. And that wrong belief is the exact reason you're still stuck. Because the Japanese brain is not special. Same 3 pounds of gray matter sitting in your skull right now. No extra gift, no secret gene. What they have is something far more dangerous than talent. A system. A 400-year-old operating system for learning that makes mastery almost automatic and makes the way you were taught to learn look like a slow-motion accident. Here's the part that should sting. While you were watching tutorials, waiting for motivation, and doing it your own way, you were quietly encoding failure into your own hands. You weren't learning. You were rehearsing your mistakes. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you the exact 5 stages of this system, the same one a poor blacksmith's son used to build the biggest motorcycle company on Earth. And stage 3 is the one that feels completely backwards, until you realize it's the reason nothing you learn ever seems to stick. Comment system. If you're tired of learning the slow way, I want to see who's ready to switch. Now let me show you the lie that's been quietly freezing your skills. Let's name what's actually happening, because it's uncomfortable. Most people confuse activity with learning. You watch the video, you save the tutorial, you buy the course. It feels productive. Dopamine, motion, the illusion of progress. But nothing transfers into your hands, your reflexes, your instinct. That's not learning. That's entertainment wearing a costume. The Japanese made peace with a brutal truth centuries ago. Motivation is unreliable, inspiration is a tourist, and figuring it out yourself is how amateurs bake in bad habits they'll spend years trying to remove. So they replaced all of it with structure. A path so clear that talent becomes almost irrelevant, because the system carries you where willpower fails. And to see that system working in a real human being, meet the man whose name is probably parked outside your window right now. Soichiro Honda was a blacksmith's son. He dropped out of school at 15 to sweep floors in an engine repair shop. No degree, no money, no connections. Everything the modern world says you need to succeed, he had none of it. But he had the system. He didn't chase inspiration. He obsessed over form, repetition, and relentless refinement. He failed publicly, went broke, got rejected, and kept running the same loop of copy, correct, refine. Decades later, that floor sweeper built Honda, the biggest motorcycle manufacturer on the planet, and one of the most respected engineering companies alive. He wasn't a genius who got lucky. He was an average man running a superior process, and that process has a name and a shape. 5 stages that anyone, including you, can steal starting today. Here's the first, and it's the one that will offend your ego the most. Stage 1, Kata, kill your creativity first. Here's a sentence you won't like. At the beginning, your creativity is a trap. When a beginner does it their own way, they don't discover genius. They encode garbage, sloppy form, lazy angles, shortcuts that feel clever and cost them years later. Because every rep of a bad habit carves it deeper, and unlearning is 10 times harder than learning. The Japanese solution is kata, the form. In martial arts, you don't spar on day 1. You repeat a single exact movement 1,000 times. 10,000 times. Same angle, same breath, same footwork, until it's carved into your nervous system. It looks mindless. It's the opposite. Kata deletes decisions. When the form runs automatically, your brain stops burning fuel on how do I do this, and is finally free to notice, why does this work? Bruce Lee said it perfectly. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. That's kata. And once the form is inside you, the system tells you exactly what to do with it next. Stage 2, shu, obey completely. Copy the master. This is shu, the first movement of a bigger arc called shu-ha-ri, the map of all mastery. And shu means one humbling thing, obey. You find a master, and you copy them exactly. Cup for cup, angle for angle. 0 improvisation, 0 but what if I. Think of learning to cook. First, you follow the recipe precisely. No substitutions, no ego. You're not being a robot. You're downloading a proven pattern directly into your hands before your opinions can corrupt it. The Western instinct screams against this. We're told to be original, find your voice, disrupt, but you cannot break rules you never learned. Originality without mastery is just noise. Shu builds the foundation strong enough that later, breaking the rules will actually mean something, and that later is the next stage, where most people are too impatient to arrive. If this is rewiring how you think about learning, subscribe. This channel is built entirely on the systems most people never get taught. Now, the stage where you finally get to rebel. Stage 3. Ha. Break the rules on purpose. This is Ha. To break. And it's the stage that feels backwards, because after telling you to obey completely, the system now tells you to deviate. But there's a condition, and it's everything. You only earn Ha after you own the form. Now that the recipe lives in your hands, you start bending it. You ask why one step exists, and what happens if you change it. You experiment, not from ignorance, but from mastery. The cook who's made the dish 200 times can finally adjust the spice, swap the technique, and improve it, because they understand the rule they're breaking. This is where amateurs and masters split forever. Amateurs try to skip straight to Ha. They want to innovate on day one, so they build creative-looking failures. Masters earn Ha by paying for it in reps. And the reason your learning never sticks? You've been trying to live in Ha without ever surviving Shu. You broke rules you never actually learned, which leads to the stage almost nobody reaches. Stage 4. Rai. The form becomes you. Rai means to leave, to transcend. Here, the rules don't just bend, they dissolve. You no longer think about the form because you are the form. The sushi master doesn't measure. The swordsman doesn't count. The engineer doesn't recite the manual. The knowledge has sunk so deep it moved from the thinking brain into pure instinct. This is what looks like genius from the outside. Effortless, intuitive, magical. But it was never magic. It's Shu, then Ha, then Ri, compounded over thousands of hours of structured practice. The effortlessness on the surface is built on a mountain of deliberate, boring, unglamorous repetition underneath. What you envy as talent is simply someone further down the same path you're standing on right now. And there's one final ingredient that keeps the whole system alive, the thing that turns a one-time achievement into lifelong mastery. Stage 5. Kaizen. Never stop refining. The last stage isn't a finish line. It's Kaizen. Continuous, relentless, tiny improvement, forever. 1% better, endlessly. The Western mind loves the big leap, the overnight transformation, the massive breakthrough, the dramatic before and after. Kaizen is the opposite philosophy, and it's why Japanese quality became legendary. You don't chase a giant leap. You make one microscopic improvement today, another tomorrow, and you never ever declare yourself finished. Even the master keeps refining, because Ri without Kaizen slowly rots into arrogance. Stack 1% daily, and the math becomes almost unfair, small, invisible gains compounding into a level of skill that looks superhuman from the outside. That's the engine under all 5 stages: form, obey, break, transcend, refine, running in a loop for a lifetime. So here's the real reason the Japanese seem to master anything faster. It was never IQ. It was never a gift you weren't born with. It's that they replace the worst parts of how we learn, waiting for motivation, improvising too early, quitting when it's boring, chasing giant leaps, with a system that removes all of those failure points on purpose. You don't rise to the level of your talent. You fall to the level of your system, and for most of your life, you've been running a broken one. Consume, feel motivated, wing it, get frustrated, quit. Swap that for Shuhari and Kaizen, and something quietly terrifying happens. You stop needing to be gifted. The process makes you good whether you feel like it or not. That's the secret the floor sweeper knew. That's the secret behind the sword, the sushi, and the semiconductor. So no, they were never geniuses. Same 3 pounds of gray matter as you. The only difference was a 400-year-old operating system, Kata to build the form, Shu to copy the master, Ha to break the rules you earned, Ri to become the skill itself, and Kaizen to refine it forever. You already have the brain. You were just handed the wrong instructions. Change the system, and talent stops being something you were born with and starts being something you build. Tell me in the comments, which skill are you going to run through this system first, and which stage do you think you've been skipping? And if someone you know keeps blaming no talent, send them this. It might be the reason everything finally clicks for them. Pick one skill. Start at shoe. Copy the master before you try to beat them. Because mastery was never about talent. It was always about the system.